Why, hello there. Today is day 640 of watching an Elden Ring trailer, and we will be watching the E3 2019 announcement trailer live today. But before getting into the trailer watch today, I thought we could just hang out for a little bit, just discuss. I don't really have anything planned, unlike last time where we talked a lot about the leaked trailer, and I had a lot of things to say. Um, yeah, just kind of keeping it open and seeing what people want to talk about today before jumping into the trailer. Hello, Isaac, Kolk, Nico. Nice to see everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. You're cozy. Have a nice drink. Hello, Kurosaki. Um, but yeah, it has been kind of a little bit of a I don't really know how to. Yeah, yeah, is Isaac asks, is it okay to call you Sean? And yeah, Sean is totally totally fine. I don't necessarily go strictly by the lore hunter. It's just kind of the channel I run and sort of the brand I run on. But Sean is completely fine. Um, yeah. Hello, Roman. Quick Blur says, I want to point out the wooden giant similarity to the old one in the leaked trailers. And that's not a bad point there. Quick Blur is that the old one in Demon Souls is very much a gigantic tree, and in the Elden Ring leaked trailer, those really awesome tree giant dudes are definitely you know are definitely tree like. Um, it's tough because in the so the what is it? Long Shi, the Chinese content creator, in their video, I guess that they sort of likened the those tree giants to the Green Man, and the Green Man is just kind of it's related to sort of like pagan culture, sort of has Celtic roots, I believe, but the Green Man is really just like a face commonly that's put in churches. It sort of represents like rebirth and death and stuff. So, um, could be not. I think I've sort of said that I'm kind of dubious of what is in Longshi's the informational content. I sort of believe pretty closely that the leaked, I guess the concept art that they showed is real, but I don't tend to trust their the content that they talk about. So the connection to the Green Man is kind of loose for me. Maybe it's not a bad theory, at least. Yes. Hello, you tragic things. That is that is the new thing that has come from the leaked trailers, which I think is pretty fitting for this community overall. Let's see. Roman asks, do you feel like they're going to explore the us versus others unleashed by the Elden Ring destruction trope? Um, Maybe. It's hard to say. I think I definitely think from what Omni has said, it's something about humanity kind of adjusting to the shattering and sort of dealing with the consequences, everyone dealing with the consequences of the shattering, which, according to Omni, is sort of has like transformational aspects, especially those who are closer to the Elden Ring. So I think it will deal with, people transforming, and then he even does allude to some like external threats that perhaps the Elden Ring was protecting against. So, from the leaked trailer, there's not too many just straight up human looking people. They usually have something going on there, so it seems like there will be a good amount of that. Um, Isaac asks if he creates a reset air account, will he be able to see on these comments? Yeah, they're thread marked, and what you can actually do, I believe, is I do on EldenRingLore.com. I do have that listed somewhere, and I will have to I'll have to put a links somewhere, but I do have a document that shows that. I have to double check that I haven't put like notes and stuff in it. I think I have an annotated version and a non-annotated version. That is just a collection of Omni's posts. So, um, let's see. Um, Nico Chan says my take is it's still a Berserk Fantasia arc vibe. Um, Perhaps that tree certainly. I'm not super familiar with Berserk. I have to admit, I'm starting to look into it. It feels like it's about time, but I did sort of look up the events surrounding that the sort of DNA looking world tree thing for my latest video that will someday be coming up, um, sometime soon for my Elden Ring so far episode 4. I do a little more research into that, and that does seem like it has the chance to be something that transcends planes and sort of connects them together. Um, let's see. Uh, Colt, sorry if I mispronounced that. He said, or they said, I read Omni's first post regularly, gets me hyped, like the trailers. Yeah, I've read through Omni's posts quite a few times. um, and yeah, especially that lore post of his, I found to be evocative and sort of gesture towards a lot of cool ideas. So, okay. Okay, so Nico Chan says the Fantasia arc is like all the folklore creatures and myths and monsters are unleashed into our real world. The fantasy world becomes part of ours, and yeah, I do see that as a thing that is very possible. One thing that I think so is a little peek into just something that people have kind of known already, but the Millwood Knights in Dark Souls 3, they have in their item descriptions a mention of something they call the Ethereal Oak, which after seeing the leak trailer and you see that transparent large tree, certainly sounds like the Millwood Knights, as people have suspected, could be a slight reference to Elden Ring. And I don't want to go too far with that because I think it's probably just a slight nod at ideas they were starting to work on. But they do say that they're like sworn enemy is the Abyss Dragon, which is most likely a Midir who's an abyssal dragon. But that also, if you wanted to speculate a little bit, you could interpret that as, maybe something like dragons came through in addition to other monsters and creatures, in sort of a what was that in Witcher? The conjunction of the spheres is a similar thing where that sort of puts monsters into the world. Um, let's see. Quick Blair asks, do you think they're trying to have more of a Bloodborne influence with the big moon shot shown throughout the leaks? One of the last shots had a big moon in the background that gave big Bloodborne vibes. I think with the night and day cycle that you're going to just get a lot more sun and moon imagery, and I would be a little surprised, especially given how that golden tree seems so like sun-like, and I've compared it to Laurelin from Lord of the Rings, the one of the trees that's supposed to. Basically Laurelin was the sun before there was the sun, and so I would be surprised if they don't take something so mechanical like a day-night cycle and sort of play with that into the lore somehow. So I think that could be part of the Sun and Moon vibes, and that's just also like from software. Like that moon has a very specific like teal blue, bluish green hue that is exactly like the Moonlight Greatsword. Like the color of that is very much the Moonlight Greatsword. So who knows what they're doing with it, and they had with Gwendolyn, the sun was a certain type of magic, and or the moon had a certain magic associated, which is why Gwen raised Gwendolyn as a girl, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's been in From's games with the sun and the moon. So yeah, Roman says they could build off a world tendency system with creatures breaching reality into your open world as you kill bosses. They could. I have sort of asked Omni if he has heard of any sort of world tendency system, and he hadn't per se. I do think that just establishing the day night cycle and the other mechanics that they're weaving into open world gameplay means that something like a world tendency system is maybe a bit ambitious, in addition to everything else. But that isn't to say it does not exist exactly. It's just to say that that may be one layer that's something that could be iterated upon. But I haven't heard of anything yet. So yeah. So yeah, that's I I would love stuff like that, and I've mentioned it before, but I would love some of those weird mechanics that they had in Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, like World Tendency, Vagrants, like Grave Lording, all the asynchronous multiplayer ideas. I just really love that stuff, but it seems like they probably have a big enough challenge just trying to get an open world game with Dark Souls combat and layering in these new systems and horseback riding and horseback combat that, is a challenge. Let's see. I saw a question I wanted to answer there. Kurosaki asks, do you think fog gates will stay with an open world? This would be more difficult to implement. So I actually wondered because behind the sort of scorpion warrior guy you fight, there is something that almost looks like one of the golden fog gates from like Dark Souls 1, for instance, that lead to the different Lord Souls. And I don't think that I think that there will be roaming bosses in the world. I don't think they will all be roaming bosses, but I think, for instance, there's a decent chance that like the dragon you see in the leaked trailer, that dragon is maybe a bit of an organic or an open world, maybe scripted event. I don't know which. I'm just speculating, but I think we will have bosses that you can essentially run away from or choose not to engage with, sort of like just like in Sekiro, where there's like the mini bosses. But I think maybe they'll go in harder with that. And then there will be the castles that are the more classic, sort of Souls arenas. And I think they make you something like a fog gate there to fight the boss in a contained arena in those instances. So I do think there will be some level of that, but I think there will be plenty of like open world stuff where you're fighting against a really tough enemy or a roaming boss and be able to maneuver away. Yeah. Nico Chan says, I wanted to mention the recent leak that there's a particular shot with the sky that's the exact same hue as they look up the sky at Burns scene. And I am enough of a freak about this that I think I know exactly. It's the scene where they're riding the horse and you can see the tree in the background and the sky is very much like a blood red, like the image popping up behind me, or that was just behind me now. And I do wonder, I did wonder if that's like, I'm not sure if that's like a blood moon thing or, I don't know what, but that did seem to be a very specific, intense red that could indicate something. So I think you're on to something there. I think that's a pretty good idea. Zach Bushman says, unpopular opinion, I'm hoping for more gimmick bosses. Like the Fool's Idol, Mikolash. Having every boss be a dodge and punish anime battle hurts pacing. And I agree in spirit, Zach, that I think, and I think I mentioned this in a few videos, is that I think it's great to have like your Artorias duel fights and then to have like your Ornstein and Smo like gank fights. But you need the variety there. You can't have them all be that. And I think by making like easier bosses or gimmick bosses or bosses that have more varied gameplay, it makes the classic Artorias style duel battles more interesting. And I think with Elden Ring, with having open world bosses and there appearing to be lots of monsters, it gives a perfect opportunity to give different modes of gameplay. Where when you're operating in the open world against like a dragon, for instance, or another monster, you have so many opportunities to run away, to reposition yourself, to be on a horse, and then in the classic like Souls dungeons, you can fight your classic Artorias fight. And I think that could really add a lot of variety to gameplay. I think that's the big thing for me is I really also want a variety of gameplay, and for it to not just necessarily be, as hard as it can be all the time, but to be interesting and varied, and to make me approach things in different ways and utilize different things. Like, maybe an unpopular opinion, I don't know, but I like the folding monkeys in Sekiro, and I kind of really, when I got to that fight, I was really happy to have a gimmick fight at that. And the thing with gimmick fights is that they're not as good for replayability. But this game's already going to have I don't think that's a huge problem because you're already in this open world with supposedly like roaming enemies, roaming bosses, different setups. It's not as static as previous games. So you're going to find replayability in other ways. And I think the benefit you get from a gimmick boss outweighs the replayability it hurts by if it's a bigger, grander game, having those different challenges could be really nice, even if it ends up in the long run being something that's kind of easy in repeated plays because you know the gimmick. And I think good gimmicks still make it fun. Let's see. Hello, Noah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. I'm really hoping to make a really fun community, and I think we're making a really fun community. I wasn't sure when I did these daily trailer watches. I just knew I wanted to do something positive in 2021, and I wanted to be like, I don't know, just bring some excitement and some enthusiasm, and just be a little silly. Like obviously watching a trailer every day, a little silly, but it's really fun, and it's become part of my daily ritual, and I really appreciate being able to share that with everyone. So, yeah, let's see. Nico says, I think there also seems to be something with the gold color. In my opinion, it's going to be part of the artistic direction of the game. Yes. Yes, I have also noticed there's a lot of gold. The particle effect coming off of that lad on the field, and the font, as you mentioned, on the concept art, the person, the skin that is being worn, even the eyes appear a bit golden there. That could just be being a weird skin close, I don't know. But and then obviously the shattering image looks golden as well. All the particles that I think are the scepter breaking are golden in the announcement trailer. And then you have like the golden tree in the leaked trailer. So there's a lot of gold. And I think that the thing that I saw that could be a fog gate was also kind of gold in nature. So I would not be surprised. I think gold, you're completely right, that gold is is going to serve a symbolic role in the game. And I think that goes into something that I've been increasingly digging into, and I hate to keep teasing this video I'm working on because it feels lame, but that is something I sort of get into, and maybe that has something to do with this increasing attention to kings and power that I'm noticing. So, yeah. Yeah, there is the joke that, that I've seen is that you have the Harry Potter castle shot when it says from the creators of Bloodborne and Sekiro and Dark Souls. And, straight out of Harry Potter is a way that I've seen referred to, but I think it's really pretty too. I think it's got a sense of color that I don't think the Souls games would have dared try. And I've seen some criticism saying that it makes it feel more generic, but I also think a desaturated palette isn't any more novel at this point or interesting. So I'm really interested to see what they do with the color balance ultimately, and how they manage colors, and if it's a brighter world, how they sort of play with those colors. Okay, Noah asks if you could visit one FromSoft game in real life for a day, with no danger of actual death, which is important, which would it be? Well, I've been to Prague, so I've been to Bloodborne. um, but that's a tough one. I would honestly, I would honestly like to see Irothil in real life. So I'd have to say for just for that alone, I think Dark Souls 3 would be one. That has some good vistas. As Brixie mentions, Archdragon Peak has a nice blue sky. Maybe I could have like a little lunch there. And, that seems like a nice place to have lunch. I just kind of meditate my way over there. Zach asked, do you think the Elden Ring is a physical object or some kind of incorporeal thing concept? That is something that I am addressing in great detail in my Elden Ring so far video that I swear is actually coming out. I'm not going to just keep mentioning it. But I think that it is... How do I say this without... who cares? The video will obviously go into more detail, but the scepter in the announcement trailer, I think that is something that represents the Elden Ring. And therefore, I think the Elden Ring is this ethereal concept, but that it has physical representations and things that are connected to the Elden Ring. I think that is part of the reason why the scepter gets broken in the announcement trailer. It's not that the scepter breaking is breaking the Elden Ring, but that the Elden Ring was broken, and it's this, sort of thing that rules reality, and that when it is broken, its scepter is also broken. Is my quick and dirty explanation. Mocha said they would love to visit Blighttown for the fresh air. Yeah, Blighttown smell just terrible. It's below the sewers. So that place would smell horrible. Let's see. Roman says, from the leaked trailer, it feels like the architecture of buildings is less blocky and depressing and more Renaissance, high fantasy inspired. In the leaked trailer, I saw like Norman or perhaps Romanesque architecture, similar to the original Demon Souls. I saw your classic like High Gothic architecture. I also saw what I am interpreting now and could be wrong as like an Almohad Moorish Spanish architecture. And I think that serves a few functions. I think one, when you're building an open world, it makes sense to have more varied architecture to represent different kingdoms and different places and to give more of a sense of scale of that world. And also, it makes a lot more sense if you're in an open world and you need to orient yourself to have these more distinct looking buildings and to not be so samey looking. So I think for a few reasons, I think it makes it more interesting. It builds the world out better, and it works better for the player to be able to navigate by landmarks. And if the landmarks have distinct architectural forms, that will make it easier to figure out where you are in the world. Good evening, Strenuous Orb. If you haven't, definitely check out my episode with Nick, which a lot of you have, it appears, but we chat about Elden Ring for a while, and it's a very good episode. Happy to have you joining. Kurosaki says, when Sauron's ring was destroyed, the tower and Sauron himself fell. When the Elden Ring was destroyed, it is interesting if someone died because of it or if some building was destroyed. I do think that, the Elden Ring is connected. If the Elden Ring sort of controls the way the world is supposed to be, the natural state of things, I think it is directly the destruction of the Elden Ring that is why people are cracking and what is going on there. Like the waning of the power, that's sort of also like a dark tower sort of thing, where the dark tower, as it wanes and loses power, it affects the world in reality because that's what it controls. And I think that is very likely that there's tons of ramifications, not only the transformation of people, the destruction of objects, but in probably the creation of the Riftlands is sort of my speculation. I think the Riftlands may be a result of the Elden Ring shattering. Let's see. Rofo the Gurm says, from various artworks related to Elden Ring, either the leaked concept Snake Guy or I don't know how to pronounce him. He does really good. Zushin Yi's art, who is a concept artist on Elden Ring. What do you make of all the faces in various places? Uh, that is something I've also noticed. There's a lot of faces where faces shouldn't be. And I think that builds into this idea of people's bodies, this utility and use of people and their body parts in sort of this body horror way that for some reason in this world there's just a lot of using people and creatures. And the group with the severed arms, as Quick Blur mentions, I don't know what that means, but it's messed up. It's messed up, guys. It's just there's so much utility of people's physical bodies being used in ways that they should not be used in. It's very interesting, and I'm not quite sure where it's all going, but I wonder if it has something to do with the way reality has been affected by the Elden Ring shattering. If there's just not the normal decay of flesh, and it's leading to people doing really strange things with people's bodies, I'm not sure. Lewis asked, do you think Elden Ring will have at least 3 possible endings? I think so. I have heard that it has multiple endings. I believe that Omni has mentioned that. And I think it will have multiple endings, and I think it will be more than 2, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Yeah. Let's see. Nico says, I'm starting to think the world of Elden Ring has a flat earth. This is the edge of the map. It could be the edge of the map as in what's known. It could be like a flat earth thing, which there's plenty of fantasy stuff that goes around that. But, I'm also thinking my sort of pet theory, and, who knows, this could be totally wrong. And, this is, I'll speculate here, but it's just speculation, is I sort of get a like a Lothric vibe, in the sense that I think the Riftlands could be that parts of what represent the Elden Ring were in these various kingdoms, and the Elden Ring, in an attempt or desire to restore itself, is sort of pulling these kingdoms together, sort of a la the convergence of Lothric in Dark Souls 3. It's pulling these things to itself, but I could be totally wrong. But it's a cool idea. It's one that I really liked in Dark Souls 3, and it's one that I think they could expand on, but I don't know if they will, because that's such a direct comparison, and it sounds like they want to tackle new things. So let's see. Kazuman asked, do you think the content in the leak trailer will be present in the official trailer we end up getting? Can't stop thinking about the last bit of the leak trailer might have been a spoiler. It could have been. That moon boss, I've asked the question myself, is that something they wanted us to see ahead of time? Is that something that was supposed to be shown? Perhaps. Who knows? But, I do think that a final trailer will probably be somewhat different. Especially if this footage is over a year old, they may have new ideas for how they want to show it. I think they've been thinking intensely about how to show Elden Ring in a way that doesn't make it look like Dark Souls 4, which is part of the unfortunate nature of having the leak happen in the first place. But I do personally think that the final trailer that we end up seeing next will be significantly different from what we've seen in a lot of ways. Let's see. Divine Banana says, does anyone think the Elden Ring is like Conjunction of the Spheres? Yes. Yeah, I've mentioned that occasionally, but I do think that Conjunction of the Spheres is not a bad way to describe it. Also, it sounds like the Fantasia arc in Berserk is another touchstone. These blending of planes, crossing of planes, that's something you find in plenty of fantasy, D&D, The Witcher, Berserk. So those are just a few to name. And especially the D&D connections would be something that I could certainly see Miyazaki and George R. R. Martin having in common as a touchstone, and being able to eloquently talk with each other about that and flesh out that idea. Let's see. According to a Bra Momento says, according to a post on 4chan, Miyazaki is not the main director. Do you think that is true? I don't trust much from 4chan, but I think Miyazaki will be listed as the main director, and I think that's how he's been described in interviews already. He will certainly have a co-director, and I think the co-director is Yui Tanimura. Is just my best bet, but yeah. So I think, especially for Elden Ring, like if you're thinking of Elden Ring being developed at the same time as Sekiro and Deracine, I would guess that because of George R. R. Martin and the scope and just this being the From Software's largest project, that this would actually be the one where Miyazaki put the majority of his focus. So, yeah. Brixie says, I really don't see the whole fantasy elements came out of nowhere thing that people were saying. It's hard to tell. I was actually, when I was looking at the leaked trailer the other day, I was trying to look at how ruined the world appeared and just trying to gain an idea of if I could see how alive the world feels versus, yeah, like, for instance, the architecture surrounding the giant tree was the giant tree there before the Elden Ring was shattered? Because if that was a result of the Elden Ring, that would certainly be the world becoming more fantastical. If that was before there, then the world already had giant ash trees, and it may have probably had other stuff. So it's hard to tell right now, and it really depends. I think is how long ago did the shattering happen versus when the game starts. Because I don't know. I for a while I was assuming it happened like 1,000 years ago, but I'm not as sure anymore. It actually might be more recent, and if it is, I think that would be really interesting because then it would be people dealing with the fallout of this momentous event that kind of recently happened, but then George R. R. Martin fleshed out a pretty complicated backstory. So we'll see. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Kurosaki says, I wonder if there'll be many worlds. If so, the teleportation system we know from their games will be perfect for moving, although the introduction of mounts may make them give up teleporting. It's really interesting. It's really interesting because you have the horseback system, which is a quicker way of getting across an open world. You have people debating if there'll be fast travel, and then there's like this underground system which is supposedly to provide shortcuts, and I do have a hard time deciding how those systems don't become redundant, what their role is for each one, and how that will affect exploring the world. So it is interesting. And is this one open map, or are these more like The Witcher where there's sort of discrete maps that you sort of go around to? There's so many things that could affect the way you experience the world, and they would all be open world and they could all be interesting. So it depends. It's a big question that I have as well. Let's see. All right, I think with that, let's get into. It's going to be the announcement trailer today, and we're gonna hear the music and enjoy some nice, pure, clear trailer action instead of the blurry leaked trailer. Yeah, the spider guy's cool, and if there's a bunch of him, it's almost even more interesting.
Even imagine it.
What the hell is that all about?
which commanded the stars, giving life its fullest brilliance. The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. Shattered by someone or something.
No problem, Alan G. You're doing important stuff, it sounds like.
Don't tell me you don't see it. Look up at the sky. It burns.
This music's so good. Damn. Day 640 of watching an Elden Ring trailer. Whew, 640 days since we first saw this at E3 2019. Whew. That is something. And I can't wait to see the next one. But as we've proven with the leak trailer, I'm still probably going to go back to this one. Even though if we have a fancy new trailer with music, maybe that will get me off of my obsession with watching this one. Yeah, still as good as the first time. It really is. I don't get tired of this trailer. But also, thank you. I saw a ton of really nice comments during the trailer. I didn't want to interrupt the vibes by speaking too much during the trailer, but I really appreciate everyone who's come and joined and been part of the conversation and come along for the ride of the daily ritual. It will be interesting to see how y'all respond to my Elden Ring So Far Episode 4 video, because that will be quite a bit different from this. It's much more scripted. It's been almost 2 years since I've done one of those videos officially. I think this is a really good one. And I have some interesting things to say that I've had a hard time not totally spilling the beans, but I want to keep the video a little bit exciting for people watching every day. I don't want to give away everything right now, so. But yeah, I need to get this Elden Ring So Far video out, because who knows when another trailer will come out. And then it would be old news before it even came out, so. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining me for day 640. A lot of familiar faces. I really appreciate people joining in weekly. You know, Nico, Isaac, just to name a few, and I'm missing others, and I shouldn't have started naming names, but Kurosaki, I just really appreciate it. And there I go naming more names, but I really appreciate it, and I really love the community we're building here, and I can't wait to have the game released, because I'm not going to stop doing stuff, and I think it'll be really exciting. But thank you all for joining in with me this evening, and tune in tomorrow for day 641.